Good morning. I'm your host, Fred Ellis, on your pottery adventure. This is Something Southern Pottery. We want to welcome you and hope that you have an enjoyable experience with your pottery. There's Jalen busy at her wheel making pots. Here's Laura, she's sitting in her area decorating the pots. Good morning. I'm say good morning, good day. That's because here at Something Southern it is morning. Welcome to the next pottery adventure. We are going to make some mugs this morning. You start by throwing a cylinder on the wheel. If you've seen another video, you know who we are and what we are. And if you haven't, I'm Fred, I'm the potter. Or one of the potters, let's say. We've already got the clay mixed up and wedged up into weighed out balls. This is 1.5 pounds of white clay. It's a clay that I use. This is called B-Mix. It's a very soft, smooth clay. As you notice, I do a little weird thing here, kind of get them in the ball, and then I create a concave disc on the bottom. And the reason is, when I slap the clay down on my wheel head or the bat head, as I throw on bats, I don't trap any air in it. There's no air bubbles under the bottom. It flattens out and takes up the shape of the bat, the surface that it's attached to. And the first thing we do, we have to center the clay. And that means put it in the center of the spinning wheel head. No matter how accurate you are, you can't throw it down dead center. And you have to to make a pot and make it right, you have to center the clay. If it's over, or sometimes a pound, but if it's over 1 pound of clay, I always cone it up. That does several things. One, it helps make the clay homogeneous. In other words, distributes the water throughout the clay. It's also very helpful in centering. After we center, we open the ball. Go down to about 1/4 inch of the bottom. I open it to the size I want the inside base of my pot to be. And I finish centering. As you notice, I leave a little ring impressions in the bottle. The Japanese have a name for it. I don't know. I just like to do it, and I do it on all my cylinder type pots. Now, I begin raising the wall. And from here on, it's just repetition. As I complete a pull, I then reset the rim. I make sure that it's level, and I do that, and the thickness is correct. I do that with these 3 fingers, these 2 right here. The rest of my hand's just there as a guide. It's just got to be somewhere, and that's where it is. Again, as you notice, I make a ring under. I make an impression there, and that's the clay that I begin to pull up, and I keep pulling until it's evenly distributed all the way up. As I raise my hands, I release the pressure a little bit. I cone it back in. As you can see, I try to keep things in a pyramid shape, wider at the bottom, narrow as I go up. Makes it a little simpler. I'm not telling you that's the only way, I'm just telling you that's my way. Pull it up again, release the pressure, reset the rim, repetition. Water, I use a lot of water to throw. Some people throw dry, some people throw even more than I do, but I use quite a bit of water. I get this pot to approximately the height I want it to be. As you notice, it's one speed so far, but I'm going to begin to shape the pot, so I want it to slow down a little bit. So I slow the wheel down. Then I begin to make my shape. I want the bottom to be flared out. Then I change the position of my fingers inside. What I'm doing to get it to do this is just going over under. If I raise this hand above my following hand, I'm pushing in. If I leave it kind of just a little bit below, then I push out. So I do this recurve. That's the way I make all of my mugs. Not because that shape is any better than the other one, it's just the fact that that's what I chose, and that's where I make my mugs and how. I help use this rib. I use a rib constantly in this and shaping. It does two things. It smooths the pot, takes some of the throwing rings out of the outside. And I do that for smoothness. I like throwing rings, so I leave them on the inside. Now I get more water out of here, and the reason you get the water out is water softens and melts clay. It would eventually, if you left it in there, it would melt all the way through to the solid bat head, and you wouldn't have a bottom in your pot. So you get the water out. Water is your friend or your enemy, depending on how you apply it. Okay. Go back for a little final shaping. There's many more steps to this. If you notice, I'm looking in a mirror over here. I use a reverse image to tell me if my shape is okay. As you can notice, these pots are all similar, but they're not exact. I don't use a stick or I think some people call it a gauge, to get exactly the same size each time. I like the differences. People are different. People like different things. So when I go to a show or something appears in a gallery or something, if it's a mug, I want it to be my mug. If you've ever seen my mugs, you will know that that's a something Southern Pottery mug. We're back now. It's 24 hours later. We finished throwing the bases for the mugs. We're now ready to take them off the bats, and then we'll go to the next stage, which will be applying handles to them. First of all, they have to reach a consistency of leather hard, so that's why they dry overnight. I don't just leave them out, I cover them overnight with plastic. The next tool we'll be doing with this morning is a sharp stick. I came upon these, the Pottery. I bought the system from my bat system down in Florida. He made and sold sharp sticks, and they were just as simple as this is. All this is a 1/2-inch dowel rod, and I happen to have the tools to cut it and sharpen it, so it makes it simple for me. So I quit buying those. But now we get down to turning this into, we have a base shape, we have the base on the bottom, and the first thing to do is cut it off, get it off the bat, get it shaped a little bit. And this is why I like this bat system. I can take this off and look at it and see if it's where I want it to be as far as shape goes. Then I get my same trimming tools I use all the time. And through trial and error, I've decided how I want my pot to look. And it's the way all my mugs basically look. You know it's the right consistency when you get this nice ribbon off of it. If it's too dry, it will crumble. And that's still acceptable, but it just makes it a little bit harder to get a nice smooth, because the clay itself will kind of leave, it's very small pits, but it makes it easier if it's the right consistency to come off. And then you can go back and you can smooth it. And the simple way to smooth it is to take a fairly soft rib, get you a little water on it, and just smooth that out. Like I said, water can be your friend. Makes it very simple to smooth, very easy. Take it off. I like the way that looks now. That looks a lot like my pot. So I'm gonna trim that foot just a little bit more. And I take a simple fettling knife, make sure that's got a nice little undercut to it. Run my fettling knife under it until it pops off like that. I get a nice smooth bottom as a rule. I smooth the edge out. Now I have the basic shape for my mugs. And this is where I put our Pottery stamps on them. But I put these on in a particular way, and this is to show that everyone in the pottery, I don't know if you can see it yet. If you ever have one of my pots, you'll see it's got SS for something southern. That's the pottery. Then this stamp is Laura's stamp because she'll decorate the mug, so she handles it. And she does something to produce this. This is my chalk or stamp, and it has my initials on it. And Jalen, who's our apprentice and who is filming this, will get her stamp. She's got a stamp, and we put it on because Jalen wedged the clay up to make these. So it takes everybody in the pottery to take this from a lump of clay to a functioning mug. We'll set this aside now, and then the next thing we'll do is put handles on them. As you notice, I cleaned my bats off, set them aside for right now. All right, we're back again for the next stage on this. As you can see, I've got all my mugs now off the bats. They're on a wear board with a piece of plastic over them to keep them damp, so I can now attach handles to them. So anyway, I've made up some handle blanks to do my production pots that I normally sell. I don't pull my handles. I extrude them. I have over time decided exactly what length they need to be to how I want them to fit. So then I use this as a template to get the length of them. Then I take one, I cut it to be sure that I'm getting the correct length. I take my mug blank and I look and I see exactly where I want to put it, where I want to put the handle. So I like for our chalks, our marks to show. So I generally go over to this area and I score it a little bit. I just take my fettling knife and I score it about where I want the handle and right straight down below it where the other bottom attachment is. Put a little water on it. And then I make my slip from my handle blanks. I just put a little drop of water, rub it in, rub it till it gets kind of slick, begins to make a little slip on the end of it. Then all I have to do is take it where I've made those score marks, push it in, begin to wiggle it until it begins to make a good solid bond. You can see I can pull on it lightly and it won't go anywhere. Now I take it, I've got my apron, my towel in my lap, and then I don't try to do what some potters refer to as a whale tail, and that's one stripe down the middle and one to each side. That didn't work for me. I didn't like it that much. So I mess with it until I feel like it's made a good attachment. I have good luck with that. Then as you can see, I take the other end and I make slip on it. Then I flip it over to that same area that I put the score marks on, and I score it, and I just wiggle that bottom until it begins to attach. Once it begins to attach, Then I take a little more water and I weld it down until there's a good weld there. I can check on it and make sure that it's sitting good. You can see as I move it. Then I can adjust the handle, get the curve in here. Remember, this is one reason I put the recurve in here, is because that leaves room for your fingers. Like I said, it's not necessarily the only way. It certainly is not necessarily the best way. It's Fred's way. It's my way of doing it. Then I look, line it up. That's the way I want it. On my wear board then, I put a piece of paper because I don't want it to stick to the wear board, but I want something to absorb a little bit of the water. So now these, when I finished with the whole run, which this time happens to be 10, I will let them sit under plastic again for 24 hours. Because I have wet this area, it's now wetter than the rest of the pot. If you just sit it out and let it start drying automatically and let it do a quick dry, portions of it, the outside portions, will begin to dry quicker. And when that happens, you get tension forming. It pulls the pot, it pulls the handle away from the pot, and you get a crack looking. It's usually not all the way through because some of it dries slower and it homogenizes. But some of it pulls away and makes an ugly looking handle, makes it look like it's cracked. This way, by doing it slowly, you give a chance for that water distribution to, as I say, homogenize. I'm using that term. It's not something that I was taught as a potter. It just spreads the water all over and allows it all to dry, so there's not that tension. And I do them all like that. Now I can make all the blanks. I know I'm cutting them the right length. And I want the same thing, so here are my, usually this is where my chalks are and my stamps. Now I go over here and I line it up, and this is about where I want my handle to be. I just make a few score lines. I don't get real crazy with it. Now all the time I'm looking to make sure that this is clean and the way I want it. And same thing again. Little water on it, loosened it up. Now I go in and on the score line, you saw right there as I pulled it apart, you can see it's not quite welded yet. So I keep pushing and wiggling until now it's got a fairly tight weld. So now I can come in here, do the same thing all over again, weld that down, smooth it, take my sponge, clean up the area. That's all the sponge is there for, is just to clean up the area. Go back, a little water on this end. Just swirl the finger around until I create a little slip. Line my handle up, put the loop in it, put it down on those score marks. Wiggle it down a little bit. Then I can start. And every time I make a mark and press down, I'm pulling clay down. As you can see, it's down over here. It isn't here. And now it is. Now it's got more. And I just smooth it till I get the consistency I want. I get how it looks. Clean it up, look at my handle, line it up till it's straight. Got the bend in it here that I want. I will probably adjust this again. I'll be back to them tomorrow There'll be one more chance to adjust that handle that will be, it'll still be soft enough for me to get a little adjustment in. Every time I handle this pot, I'm also looking to see is there anything to clean up, anything to move around. I want this area to stay real smooth because Laura will be painting something and carving on it, so she likes a smooth surface. So I try to take that into consideration. And we've got another handle. We have got the mugs. They're decorated, dried, bisque fired once. Now we're getting ready to put the clear glaze on them. I've stirred it now. Going to put it in there for a count of 5, get enough glaze. All right, as you know, as we showed you earlier, we put our bottoms in, we wax the bottoms so the glaze doesn't stick to them, then I sponge it off, and they're ready. We'll go through each one of these. I'll do a couple, then we'll get the rest of them done. My glaze is getting low. That's why I'm going to do some glazing, making glaze. I hope you'll take a look at that film when we put it out. I keep saying film. I know this is all video and handled digitally now, but it's easier just to call it film. We're reaching the last phase of our mug production. And the last thing we do, as I said, we kind of quality control each time we've done something. These have all been decorated, thrown, decorated, fired, ready for the last phase. When I take them out of the kiln, I check the cup. I smooth the bottom. Remember, we don't want any scratch marks on anybody's fine tables or furniture. Check for any little imperfections. Smooth them up, set them aside, check the handles, see if they'll meet. Now, the final thing we do is, even though I have put the marks for Something Southern, put my mark on it, put Laura's mark and Jalen's on most of it. Like I said, different pots require different things. Now I put a sticker on it with name, address, and phone number. After we get this done to all of them, we'll wrap them up, put them in their appropriate boxes, and take with us to the different shows. Like I said, our next show that we have is on May the 3rd. That's a Saturday. Come see us. We're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna be demonstrating throwing. I hope you've enjoyed this pottery adventure, and hope you'll join us again as we make more films and post them. Be sure and like us if you like the video. Be sure and hit the like button. And also, we'll post below our links to our social media. So just click on the links in the description below and follow them. And this is Fred Ellis with Something Southern Pottery, for the people that have helped us in this and the people in the studio. Thank you and good day.